Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever wondered why some messages find us not when we seek them, but when we need them the most? Why you stumble upon a word, a sign, or a revelation, not by force but through what feels like divine timing. This message, this very one, appears not by accident. It appears now because the universe has deemed you ready. Let me share with you 5 profound insights, keynotes, that Jung might say lie beneath this moment of awakening. Readiness is so often misunderstood. We imagine it as a state of flawlessness, a time when all our plans align, our confidence is unwavering, and we are entirely free of fear. But that is the illusion of the ego. The deeper truth, as Carl Jung would remind us, is that readiness has little to do with external perfection and everything to do with inner ripening. You see, the soul does not bloom on command. It unfolds in silence, in seasons unseen by the conscious mind. While the ego searches for clarity, for guarantees, for certainty, the psyche matures through chaos, contradiction, and longing. Real readiness is often born in the moments we feel least prepared. When we are vulnerable, uncertain, or even broken. It is in those states that the inner world begins its sacred fermentation. We wrestle with doubt, we grieve the past, we face the unknown. And in doing so, something ancient within us begins to stir. We are ripened not by answers, but by the questions that won't let us sleep, the ones that tug at our soul in the dark. That ache in the chest that says, there must be more. That sense of quiet dissatisfaction, not with life, but with the self we have outgrown. And while the surface self may still feel fractured, the deeper self has been slowly, invisibly preparing for this next step. Like fruit hanging on the vine, there is a moment when we are ready to fall from the branch. Not because we are flawless, but because something within us knows it is time. This message, this calling from the universe, does not wait for your perfection. It waits for your alignment. It waits until the unconscious parts of you, the pieces you've long ignored or hidden, begin to integrate with the whole. It waits until the inner soil has been tilled by life's trials and made fertile by your willingness to grow. Then, and only then, does the signal appear, not to flatter you, but to awaken you. So if you are hearing this message now, if it has come to you in a moment of exhaustion, confusion, or inner unrest, don't dismiss it. Don't say, but I'm not ready. Because you are. Not by the standards of the world, but by the silent knowing of your soul. The fact that you can hear the call means the call is meant for you. Ripeness is not loud, it does not scream, it whispers. And if you are still enough, wounded enough, open enough, you will hear it. And in that hearing, you will remember you were never meant to be perfect. You were meant to become whole. There are moments in life when something inexplicable happens. A chance meeting, a repeated symbol, a phrase that echoes from a book, a dream, a stranger's words, and it stirs something deep inside you. You pause, you wonder, and somehow it feels significant, as if the universe just whispered directly to you. Carl Jung called this synchronicity, a meaningful coincidence that carries no logical cause, yet resonates with profound inner truth. It is not random. It is not luck. It is the hidden language of the soul, reaching out through the fabric of reality to remind you are exactly where you need to be. The universe speaks in symbols, in patterns, in moments that seem ordinary but pulse with sacred meaning. These synchronicities do not arise when you beg for them. They appear when you are inwardly attuned, when your unconscious is ready to receive. They are not forced, they are received, gently, mysteriously, unmistakably, like a secret message just for you, spoken in a voice only you can hear. And the moment they happen, you know. You don't know with the mind, you know with the psyche. Something inside clicks. You feel it in your body, in your chest, in that ancient part of you that has always known more than words can express. The event itself may be simple. A number on a clock, a bird on a windowsill, a sentence spoken at just the right time. But the message is monumental now. Pay attention. This is your moment. Synchronicity is not the universe giving you what you want. It's the universe giving you what your soul has prepared for. Even if your ego isn't aware, it's a signpost that says the veil between the seen and unseen has briefly lifted. Something within you has shifted. An alignment has occurred. The inner world and outer world have met, like two halves of a sacred mirror. You don't need to understand it fully. In fact, trying to analyze it too much will only cloud its magic. You only need to honor it. Follow where it leads, not with blind obedience but with quiet curiosity. Ask yourself, what part of me is waking up? What truth am I being called to notice? Because when synchronicity happens, it means your journey is unfolding in harmony with a larger rhythm. The rhythm of the cosmos, the rhythm of the soul. You may have felt lost before, unsure, fragmented, but in that moment of synchronicity, everything converges. Past and future dissolve. There is only now, and the whisper is cleared. Now is the time. You are ready. There comes a point in every journey of awakening when we are forced to turn inward. Not to bask in the light, but to confront the darkness. Not the darkness of the world, but the darkness within ourselves. The impulses we deny, the truths we repress, the wounds we cover with smiles and distraction. Carl Jung called this the shadow. The hidden, unconscious aspects of our personality that we deem unworthy, shameful, or dangerous. And yet, it is precisely this shadow that holds the key to our wholeness. To acknowledge the shadow is not a glamorous act. It is raw. It is painful. It often feels like falling apart, because it means letting go of the false self. The version of you carefully crafted to be accepted, loved, or seen as good. It means facing the anger you've buried, the envy you pretend not to feel, the fear that drives your decisions behind the mask of confidence. It means admitting, I am not only what I show the world, I am also what I hide from it. But here lies the paradox: until the shadow is brought into consciousness, it rules us, quietly, invisibly. It sabotages our relationships, distorts our desires, and repeats painful patterns under the illusion of fate. We think the world is against us, when in truth, we are at war with ourselves. When you begin to see the shadow, truly see it, without judgment or denial, you are not regressing, you are awakening. Because the act of acknowledgement is the first step toward integration. You are no longer projecting your darkness onto others. You are owning it. You are stepping into psychological adulthood. You are becoming sovereign over your own inner world, and it is only after this confrontation that certain messages from the universe can arrive. Not before. Because the universe doesn't waste wisdom on the persona, it speaks directly to the self. The deeper, true you that emerges only after the ego has been humbled. When you acknowledge your shadow, the inner architecture of your psyche begins to shift. The unconscious becomes a little more conscious. The chaos becomes a little more ordered. You create space, real space for transformation. This is why this message, this signal, this synchronicity has appeared now. Not because you're fixed, but because you're honest. Because you've dared to face what others run from. Because you've stared into your own darkness and didn't flinch. Maybe you didn't like what you saw, but you saw it. And that is everything. In doing so, you've created a portal. A sacred inner threshold where the old self begins to dissolve and the true self begins to emerge. And that is when the universe speaks. Not with fireworks, but with clarity, with resonance, with truth. Not to reward you but to guide you forward. Acknowledging the shadow is not the end. It is the beginning of real change, real growth, real freedom. Because until you bring the darkness to light, it will control your life. And you will call it destiny. But now, something has changed. You have looked into the mirror and seen the whole, both the light and the dark, and from this place of truth, the universe can finally whisper, now you are ready. There is a quiet transformation happening within you. One that may not be obvious to the outside world, and may not even be fully understood by your conscious mind. You might not have a name for it, but you feel it in the growing sense that you are no longer who you once were, and not yet who you are becoming. This is not just personal growth. This is not self-improvement. What you are experiencing is something deeper, more sacred. Carl Jung called it individuation, the lifelong process of becoming whole. Individuation is not about becoming perfect. It is not about achieving goals, fitting into roles, or becoming someone else's idea of success. Individuation is the unfolding of your true nature, the integration of all parts of you, conscious and unconscious, light and shadow, masculine and feminine, wounded and wise. It is the soul's journey toward authenticity, toward unity, toward becoming the one you were always meant to be beneath the masks, the conditioning, and the noise. This process rarely begins with joy. More often, it begins with discomfort, a feeling that something is off, that the life you've built no longer fits, that your habits, your relationships, your identity, once safe and familiar, now feel hollow. This is not failure. This is a sign that the deeper self is awakening. The persona, the false self, begins to crack, and something ancient within you begins to emerge. As you walk this path, you'll find that you are being drawn to parts of yourself you once rejected, memories you tried to forget, emotions you labeled as weaknesses, desires that once scared you, but instead of pushing them away, you begin to listen, you begin to make space. And slowly you realize these pieces were never your enemies, they were fragments of your own soul, waiting to return home. This inner reconciliation is sacred. As you welcome back what you once denied, you begin to feel more grounded, more aligned, more real. You are no longer performing life, you are inhabiting it. You are no longer fragmented, you are becoming integrated. And though the world may not understand it, your spirit does. The dissonance begins to fade, the inner conflict softens. You stop asking, "Who should I be?" and start asking, "Who am I really?" That is the essence of individuation. It is the soul reclaiming itself. It is your life becoming a mirror of your inner truth, not a copy of others, not a reaction to fear, but an authentic expression of your own deep nature. And it is in this space, this rare, sacred alignment, that the universe begins to speak with more clarity. Messages appear, doors open, the external begins to reflect the internal. The synchronicities are no longer random, they are responses. Because when you are becoming whole, life meets you differently. You are not chasing purpose, you are embodying it. You are not forcing change, you are becoming it. The struggle begins to transform into meaning. The wounds begin to reveal wisdom. The journey becomes less about fixing and more about remembering who you truly are. So if you feel this quiet shift, if your old ways no longer satisfy you, and a deeper voice has begun to stir within, trust it. You are not lost it. You are not behind. You are in the process of individuation. You are becoming whole. And the message has found you now, not because you have finished the journey, but because you are walking it bravely, step by step, with your soul finally leading the way. There comes a moment in the journey of every soul when the familiar no longer soothes, and the comfortable no longer satisfies. A restlessness stirs, not in the outer world, but deep within. In a place no words can fully reach. It doesn't feel like a crisis. It feels like a quiet but undeniable calling. And though it may first arrive as discomfort, it is not here to harm you. It is here to awaken you. You are being called, not to safety, not to ease, not to maintain what has always been, but to transformation. True transformation. The kind that strips away illusion, dismantles old identities, and demands the courage to step into the unknown. This calling does not flatter your ego. It speaks to your soul. Comfort is seductive. It offers predictability, shelter, and the illusion of control. But comfort also has a cost. It can keep you small. It can numb the soul's longing. It can turn a life into a loop, repeating old stories, replaying old patterns, avoiding the deeper questions. And yet, within you lives something ancient and wild that cannot be tamed by routine. That part of you, the self, in Jung's terms, will not rest until it is lived. When you feel this call, everything within you might resist it. Fear will rise. Doubt will speak. Your rational mind will beg for guarantees. But transformation never begins with certainty. It begins with honesty, the willingness to say, "I can no longer pretend this is who I am." You are not being called to adjust slightly. You are being invited to shed, to let go of the versions of yourself that were shaped by survival, by pleasing others, by staying invisible, by being who the world told you to be. This is the path of psychological death and rebirth, the death of the false self and the birth of the real one. And make no mistake, this journey is not clean or linear. It is messy, non-linear, and often lonely. You will lose things. You may lose people, but what you are truly losing is only what was never fully aligned with your essence. And in that sacred space of loss, you make room for something more real, more aligned, more alive to emerge. Jung taught us that transformation is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming who you truly are. The self, your whole integrated, conscious being, is not built. It is uncovered, discovered, remembered. And this remembering comes not through striving, but through surrender, through listening, through heeding the inner voice that has whispered to you for years, waiting for you to finally hear it. This message, here and now, is part of that voice. Not a coincidence, not a passing thought. A mirror, held up to your inner truth. You are being called, not to the easy path, but to the necessary one. Not to repeat the past, but to transcend it. Not to be safe, but to be free. The universe has recognized your readiness. Not because you have all the answers, but because you have finally asked the right question. What is trying to emerge through me? Answer it with your life. Even if your hands shake. Even if your voice trembles. Even if you don't know where it will lead. Because transformation is never about knowing the destination. It is about trusting the process of becoming. You are not here to stay the same. You are here to evolve. The time is not tomorrow. The time is not when you feel perfectly prepared. The time is now. Remembered, you didn't find this message. This message found you. Not by chance, but by divine timing. The universe does not waste wisdom. It offers it to those who are on the edge of becoming. And today that is you. Embrace it, because once you see the signs, you cannot unsee them. Once you awaken, you cannot go back to sleep. Who looks outside dreams? Who looks inside awakens. Carl Jung, now is your time to awaken.